My name is Andrea, I'm 28, and up until 6 months ago, I thought I was living the American dream. I had a thriving startup, a brilliant fiancé, and what I believed was an unshakable partnership built on love and shared ambition. But as I learned the hard way, sometimes the people closest to you are the ones holding the knife that's about to go straight through your back. Let me start from the beginning, because this story, my story, is one that every woman in tech needs to hear. It's about betrayal, yes, but it's also about resilience, justice, and the kind of revenge that doesn't just settle scores, it rewrites the entire game. I've always been a builder. Not just of code, but of dreams, relationships, futures. Even as a kid, while other girls were playing with dolls, I was taking apart computers and putting them back together, fascinated by how these machines could think, learn, and create. By the time I graduated from Stanford with a double major in computer science and artificial intelligence, I knew I wanted to change the world through technology. That's where Alex came in. Alex Mitchell, 6'2", charming smile, the kind of confidence that fills a room the moment he walks in. We met at a tech conference in San Francisco 3 years ago. I was presenting my research on neural network optimization, and he was in the audience, asking all the right questions. After my presentation, he approached me with this infectious enthusiasm about the future of AI and how we could build something revolutionary together. I was smitten, not just by his charm, but by his vision. He talked about creating technology that could genuinely help people, about building ethical AI that would set new standards for the industry. When he suggested we start a company together, it felt like fate. I had the technical brilliance, he had the business acumen and natural charisma that investors loved. We called our startup Innovate AI, and from day one, it felt like we were destined for greatness. For 2 years, we were inseparable. We worked 18-hour days, survived on coffee and takeout, and poured every ounce of our beings into making Innovate AI a reality. Alex handled the business side, pitching to investors, managing partnerships, building our brand. I focused on what I did best, creating the most sophisticated AI system the world had ever seen. The technology one developed wasn't just innovative, it was revolutionary. I created proprietary algorithms that could process natural language with unprecedented accuracy, learn from user interactions in real time, and adapt to complex problem-solving scenarios that stumped other AI systems. This wasn't just another chatbot or recommendation engine. This was artificial intelligence that could truly think, reason, and create. I remember the night I finally cracked the code on the core algorithm. It was 3 in the morning. I'd been working for 16 hours straight, and suddenly everything clicked. The solution was so elegant, so perfect, that I actually started crying right there at my desk. I called Alex immediately, despite the hour, and his excitement matched mine. He rushed to the office, and we spent the rest of the night testing and refining the breakthrough that would become the heart of Innovate AI. Those were the good times. We were partners in every sense of the word. Romantic, professional, creative. We complemented each other perfectly, or so I thought. Alex was the face of the company, the one who could walk into a boardroom and have investors eating out of his hand within minutes. I was the engine, the technical genius making the magic happen behind the scenes. But here's the thing about being behind the scenes. Sometimes people forget you're there at all. The changes started so subtly that I almost missed them. At first it was just little things. Alex would introduce me at investor meetings as my brilliant partner, instead of co-founder. He'd casually mention his vision for the algorithms I had spent months perfecting. When journalists interviewed us, somehow the technical innovations always became Alex's breakthroughs, while I was relegated to the talented engineer who helps bring Alex's ideas to life. I told myself I was being oversensitive. Alex was naturally charismatic, and investors responded to confidence. I was more comfortable with code than with people, so it made sense that he'd be the public face of the company. My work would speak for itself, right? The technology was so clearly superior that eventually, everyone would know who really built it. But the microaggressions escalated. In team meetings, Alex started dismissing my ideas before I could fully explain them. "Andrea, you're getting too technical, darling," he'd say with that patronizing smile. "Let's keep it simple for the masses." The word darling always came with a little pat on the shoulder, a gesture that looked affectionate to outsiders but felt like a cage to me. I watched my authority erode day by day. Junior developers who used to come to me with questions started going to Alex instead. When I tried to redirect technical discussions, I was told I was overthinking or getting lost in the weeds. My voice, which had once been the loudest in the room when we were building our vision, gradually faded to a whisper. The financial strain was crushing too. We'd invested everything we had into Innovate AI. Our savings, our credit, our future. I had maxed out my credit cards, taken out loans, and even borrowed money from my parents to keep the company afloat during the lean months. Every penny I earned went back into the business, because I believed we were building something that would change the world. Alex seemed to handle the financial pressure better than I did. He never seemed stressed about money, never worried about making payroll or paying our office lease. I assumed he was just better at hiding his anxiety, or maybe his natural optimism helped him stay focused on the bigger picture. I was so busy keeping the technical side running that I didn't question where his confidence came from. The worst part was how isolated I felt. Alex and I were supposed to be a team, but increasingly, I felt like I was fighting battles alone. When I brought up concerns about the company's direction or my diminishing role, he'd brush them off with jokes or accusations that I was being too sensitive or not thinking like an entrepreneur. I started working even harder, thinking that if I could just prove my value through sheer technical excellence, things would go back to how they used to be. I spent nights and weekends in the office, refining the AI system, adding new features, optimizing performance. I documented everything meticulously, kept detailed records of every breakthrough, every innovation, every line of code. Looking back, I realize I was documenting my own case without even knowing it. The company was growing, but I felt like I was shrinking. We'd gone from a team of 2 to a team of 15, but somehow I felt more alone than ever. New employees looked to Alex for direction, even on technical matters that were clearly my domain. I was becoming invisible in my own company, a ghost haunting the machines I'd created. I kept telling myself that once we secured our series of funding, once we had financial stability, things would get better. Alex would remember who I was, what I'd contributed, how much we meant to each other. I clung to that hope like a lifeline, because without it, I would have had to face the possibility that everything I'd built was slipping away. The universe has a cruel sense of timing, doesn't it? Just when you think you've hit rock bottom, it opens up a trapdoor to show you how much deeper the betrayal goes. It was a Tuesday morning in March. I'd been working late the night before, fixing a critical bug in our AI system that was causing problems for one of our biggest clients. I was exhausted, running on my 4th cup of coffee, when I noticed Alex had left his laptop open on the conference room table. The screen was still active, and I could see his email inbox. I wasn't trying to snoop, I swear. I was just going to close the laptop and bring it to his office. But something caught my eye, an email thread with a subject line that made my blood run cold. Innovate AI acquisition, confidential. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the messages. It was a conversation between Alex and David Chen, the CEO of Novatech, one of our biggest competitors. But this wasn't just business correspondence. This was a detailed plan to systematically destroy everything we'd built together. The emails laid out a timeline. Alex had been feeding proprietary information to Novatech for months. My algorithms, my code, my technical innovations. He'd been selling them piece by piece to the highest bidder. But it got worse. So much worse. There were financial records showing transactions from our joint business account to Alex's personal account, then to offshore holdings. He'd been slowly draining our company's resources, siphoning money that was supposed to go toward development, marketing, and employee salaries. Money that I'd helped earn. Money that I'd sacrificed everything to contribute to. And then I found the email that shattered what was left of my world. It was from Alex to David Chen, dated just 3 days earlier. The transition should be seamless. Once the acquisition is complete, we can eliminate the technical redundancies. Andrea's work is already integrated into our systems, and frankly, her emotional attachment to the code makes her a liability for future development. Better to make a clean break. A clean break. That's what our 3-year relationship, our shared dreams, our entire future together meant to him. A clean break. But the final blow was in the last paragraph. Looking forward to starting fresh with Novatech. Sarah and I are excited about the possibilities, both professionally and personally. This new chapter couldn't come at a better time. Sarah. Sarah Winters, the CEO of Novatech. The woman who'd been my mentor when I was first starting out in tech, who'd encouraged me to take risks, to trust my instincts, to never let anyone diminish my worth. She was the other woman. I sat in that conference room for what felt like hours, staring at the screen, trying to process what I'd just discovered. My fiancé, my business partner, the man I trusted with my heart and my future, had been systematically betraying me for months. He'd stolen my work, my money, and my dreams, all while planning to abandon me for another woman. The rage came in waves. First white-hot fury that made my hands shake and my vision blur. Then crushing despair that made me want to curl up in a ball and disappear. Finally, something cold and crystalline settled over me. A clarity I'd never experienced before. I wasn't going to be destroyed by this. I was going to destroy him. See, Alex had made a fatal mistake. He'd underestimated me. He saw me as the technical genius who was too naive about business, too trusting to protect herself. He thought that because I'd been quiet, because I'd let him take credit, because I'd focused on building instead of fighting, I was weak. He had no idea what I was capable of when I set my mind to something. I spent the next week in a state of controlled fury, maintaining the facade of normalcy while secretly building my case. Every morning, I'd smile and kiss Alex goodbye, ask him about his day, pretend everything was fine. But every night I was working. I had advantages Alex didn't know about. Remember all those meticulous records I'd kept? Every line of code was time-stamped and documented. Every email was archived. Every breakthrough was recorded in my personal development logs. I had a paper trail that proved, beyond any doubt, that I was the creator of Innovate AI's core technology. But I had something even more valuable. I had encrypted backups of everything. Not just the code, but the design documents, the technical specifications, the architectural diagrams. I'd been paranoid about data loss, so I'd created multiple backup systems, stored in different locations, with different encryption keys. Alex had access to our main development servers, but he had no idea about my personal backup systems. I also had allies he'd forgotten about. There were people at Innovate AI who'd watched Alex's behavior with growing concern. Jennifer, our head of product development, had been with us since month 3. She'd seen how Alex had gradually marginalized me, and she'd been quietly documenting the instances where he'd taken credit for my work. Marcus, our lead data scientist, had been recruited directly by me. He knew exactly who had created the algorithms he worked with every day, and he was getting tired of watching Alex claim credit for innovations that clearly bore my fingerprints. Most importantly, I had Rebecca Kim, a brilliant lawyer who specialized in intellectual property theft in the tech industry. Rebecca had been following Innovate AI's progress, and when I reached out to her, she immediately understood the significance of what I was telling her. Andrea, she said during our first meeting, what you've described isn't just betrayal, it's systematic theft of intellectual property, embezzlement, and probably a dozen other crimes. We're not just going to get you justice. We're going to make an example of him. The plan we developed was surgical in its precision. We would gather every piece of evidence, build an airtight case, and then strike with overwhelming force. No warnings, no negotiations, no second chances. Alex had chosen to play dirty, so we'd show him what dirty really looked like. I spent 2 weeks secretly copying files, documenting transactions, and gathering sworn statements from colleagues who'd witnessed Alex's behavior. I traced the money trail, following every suspicious transaction from our business account to Alex's personal finances. I compiled a comprehensive dossier of his communications with Novatech, including emails, meeting notes, and technical documents that proved he'd been sharing proprietary information. The smoking gun was a recorded phone call between Alex and David Chen. I'd installed monitoring software on our office phone system months earlier as a security measure. Something Alex had approved without really understanding what it meant. The recording captured Alex explicitly discussing the sale of my algorithms and his plans to eliminate the technical redundancies once the acquisition was complete. When Rebecca reviewed all the evidence, she actually smiled. This is the strongest IP theft case I've ever seen. We have him dead to rights on multiple felony charges. But more importantly, we have everything we need to completely destroy his credibility in the industry. The timing had to be perfect. Alex was planning to announce the Novatech acquisition at the annual Silicon Valley Innovation Summit, a high-profile event where all the major players in tech would be present. He'd booked the main stage, invited journalists, and prepared a presentation about Innovate AI's revolutionary AI technology, and how it would transform the industry under Novatech's leadership. He was going to use my creation as his grand finale, his moment of triumph. Instead, it would be his public execution. The night before the summit, I made my move. I'd been working with a cybersecurity firm to ensure that all of Alex's access to our systems would be revoked simultaneously. At exactly midnight, every password was changed, every access token was invalidated, and every backup system was secured with new encryption keys. But that was just the beginning. At 6 a.m., while Alex was probably getting ready for his big presentation, Rebecca filed a comprehensive lawsuit against him, Novatech, and Sarah Winters. The charges included theft of intellectual property, embezzlement, fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and violation of computer fraud and abuse laws. The filing was accompanied by a 200-page evidence packet that laid out every detail of the conspiracy. At 6:30 a.m., I sent a detailed report to the Securities and Exchange Commission, documenting the financial crimes and providing evidence of the insider trading that had occurred when Alex shared confidential information with Novatech before their acquisition offer. At 7 a.m., I released a comprehensive statement to the tech press, explaining the situation and providing key pieces of evidence that proved my ownership of Innovate AI's core technology. By 8 a.m., Alex's phone was probably ringing off the hook with calls from lawyers, journalists, and very angry investors. The Silicon Valley Innovation Summit was supposed to be Alex's moment of glory. Instead, it became the most spectacular professional meltdown in recent tech history. I watched the live stream from my apartment, eating popcorn and savoring every moment. Alex took the stage at 2 p.m., looking confident and polished, completely unaware that his world had already collapsed around him. He launched into his presentation about Innovate AI's revolutionary technology, about the bright future under Novatech's leadership, about the innovative algorithms that would change the world. About 15 minutes into his presentation, I watched his face change. Someone in the audience, probably a journalist who just received my morning briefing, asked a pointed question about the intellectual property lawsuit that had been filed that morning. Alex tried to brush it off, but the questions kept coming. Mr. Mitchell, can you respond to allegations that you stole proprietary code from your co-founder? Is it true that you've been secretly negotiating with Novatech for months? How do you respond to evidence that you embezzled funds from Innovate AI? Within minutes, Alex's polished presentation had devolved into a chaotic press conference. He was sweating, stumbling over his words, and clearly unprepared for the onslaught of questions. The live stream chat was exploding with comments from viewers who were watching his reputation implode in real time. The coup de grace came when someone played the audio recording of his phone call with David Chen. Hearing his own voice discussing the theft of my work, the elimination of technical redundancies, and his plans to make a clean break from our partnership, it was beautiful. Devastating and beautiful. Alex tried to recover, to spin the narrative, to claim that he was the victim of a disgruntled employee. But the evidence was overwhelming, and the tech community had already made up its mind. Within hours, #InnovateAI scandal was trending on social media, and every major tech publication was running stories about the betrayal that had shocked Silicon Valley. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Novatech immediately withdrew their acquisition offer and issued a statement distancing themselves from Alex and the controversy. Sarah Winters, trying to protect her own reputation, publicly denied any personal relationship with Alex and claimed she had no knowledge of the intellectual property theft. But I wasn't done. Not even close. The legal proceedings took months, but the outcome was never in doubt. Alex was found guilty on multiple counts of intellectual property theft, embezzlement, and fraud. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison and ordered to pay millions in restitution. His assets were frozen, his reputation was destroyed, and he was permanently banned from serving as an officer or director of any public company. Novatech faced their own legal consequences for their role in the conspiracy. They were fined heavily by the SEC and forced to restructure their leadership team. Several of their executives, including David Chen, were personally sanctioned and faced criminal charges. But the real victory wasn't in the courtroom. It was in what came next. With my intellectual property restored and my name cleared, I had a choice to make. I could have joined another company, taken a lucrative position at one of the tech giants, and tried to rebuild my career quietly. Instead, I decided to do something that would send a message to every woman in tech who'd ever been marginalized, dismissed, or betrayed. I founded Phoenix Innovations with the colleagues who'd stood by me throughout the ordeal. Jennifer became our Chief Product Officer, Marcus became our Chief Technology Officer, and Rebecca joined our board as General Counsel. We raised our series of funding in record time, with investors who were eager to support a company built on integrity and genuine innovation. The AI technology that Alex had tried to steal became the foundation of Phoenix Innovations' success. But we didn't just rebuild what had been taken. We improved it, expanded it, and created something even more revolutionary than before. Our AI systems didn't just process information. They understood context, emotion, and nuance in ways that no other technology could match. Within 18 months, Phoenix Innovations had become one of the hottest startups in Silicon Valley. We landed contracts with major corporations, government agencies, and research institutions. Our valuation soared past $100 million, then $500 million, then $1 billion. But the sweetest moment came when we had the opportunity to acquire some of Novatech's struggling divisions. The company that had tried to steal my work was now selling their assets to me at a fraction of their original value. I made sure to be personally present for the contract signing, just so David Chen could see exactly who he was surrendering to. The tech industry took notice. Phoenix Innovations became a symbol of ethical entrepreneurship, a company that proved you could succeed without compromising your values or betraying your partners. I was invited to speak at conferences, to mentor young entrepreneurs, and to advise other women who were fighting their own battles against discrimination and theft. I used my platform to tell my story, to warn others about the signs of betrayal, and to encourage women to document their work, protect their intellectual property, and never let anyone diminish their worth. I established a legal defense fund for women in tech who were fighting IP theft cases, and I worked with industry organizations to create better protections for founders and inventors. As for Alex, the last I heard, he was working as a freelance consultant, struggling to find clients who would trust him with their business. His name had become synonymous with betrayal and theft in Silicon Valley, and no reputable company would associate with him. Sarah Winters had cut all ties with him once the scandal broke, and he was left to face the consequences of his actions alone. I wish I could say I felt sorry for him, but I don't. He made his choices, and he paid the price for them. I've built something beautiful from the ashes of his betrayal, and every day I'm grateful for the lesson he taught me about the importance of protecting what you've created. The real victory isn't just in the success of Phoenix Innovations, though that success is deeply satisfying. It's in the knowledge that I fought back, that I refused to be a victim, and that I turned my pain into power. It's in the letters I receive from women who've been inspired by my story to stand up for themselves, to fight for their rights, and to never let anyone steal their dreams. They say that success is the best revenge, and I'm living proof of that truth. I built an empire from the ruins of betrayal, and every day I'm reminded that integrity, hard work, and technical brilliance will always triumph over theft, deception, and betrayal. My story isn't unique. There are countless women in tech who've faced similar challenges, who've had their work stolen, their contributions minimized, their voices silenced. But I hope my experience shows that we don't have to accept that treatment. We can fight back, we can win, and we can build something better than what was taken from us. The tech industry is changing, slowly but surely. There are more women in leadership positions, more awareness of gender bias, and more protections for intellectual property. But we still have work to do, and I'm committed to being part of that change. Phoenix Innovations isn't just a company. It's a statement. It's proof that women can build revolutionary technology, lead successful businesses, and create lasting change in the world. It's a reminder that our voices matter, our innovations matter, and our stories matter. And sometimes, when justice is served with a side of poetic irony, it tastes even sweeter than success itself.